Fiesta Online is an anime MMORPG from my childhood. This is an MMORPG that back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, I dedicated a lot of time to. I am a huge fan of anime MMOs. I have dedicated a large portion of my MMO career specifically to that genre. I spent the very first 2 years in the MMO scene playing through Tales of Pirates. Then I moved on to games like Flyff, Fiesta, Florentia, Eden Eternal, Grand Fantasia. These were all games that I played quite extensively, and admittedly, a lot of those games that I referenced are shut down or in the process of shutting down. The anime MMO genre as a whole seems to be in kind of a decline. Granted, we do have some very promising looking anime titles coming in the future, games like Project BBQ, games like Blue Protocol and Tower of Fantasy, but Mrs. Steaks and I figured we were going to go ahead here and take a look at some of the games from my childhood, games that she hadn't played and games that I hadn't played in years, and it would be the perfect opportunity to stream this over on our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/MMObyte, where, shameless plug, we stream 3 days a week if you want to come on over and join us. And I figured now was the perfect opportunity to take a look at Fiesta. It has been years since I have delved back into this game. It has been years since I even looked at this game. And admittedly, I was kind of surprised. See, from what I remember, Fiesta Online was a very fun anime MMO. It was a very traditional MMO in the sense that you quested, you grinded a lot, you leveled up, the world was segregated, and overall it had a very straightforward linear sense of progression. However, going back to it, I realized that I may have had my nostalgia goggles on. See, Fiesta Online, it is not a terrible game. It is not a great game by any stretch of the imagination. I would not even say that it is a good game by today's standards, which I guess is understandable then why so little players play this. I mean, let's just take a minute here and talk about the game itself. I played up until approximately level 20, and over the course of the level 1 to 20 experience, you have to mindlessly grind monsters. Now, yeah, there are various different quests you can do. You can both accept and complete quests remotely via a menu that allows you to do so, which means you don't have to seek out NPCs to accept the quest, and you don't have to seek out those very same NPCs to complete the quest. However, those quests alone were not enough to level us. There were very limited quests for each level, and those quests themselves were very difficult to do, mind you. They required you to go out and farm monsters, and they didn't really give you any kind of descriptive direction. Not just that, the drop rate on the items was terrible, and ultimately you ended up needing to grind in between each level because you couldn't progress far enough via the quests alone. And I get it, back when this type of game was prominent, back when this type of game was relevant, that kind of system, that kind of progression was very prevalent. I mean, go back to the mid 2000s, maybe late 2000s, and take a look at the MMOs that were present then. These were games that promoted grinding to supplement the XP that you were not getting from questing because the quest alone would not be enough to level you up. And admittedly, I came to realize that I do not really like grinding the same monsters over and over again in games. That is one of the reasons why I'm not an overly enthusiastic fan of Black Desert's type of progression, which is essentially just grinding. I like a level cap, and I like being able to hit that by either grinding if I want to, or questing if I want to, or running dungeons, or doing PvP or other types of instances. And granted, this is an older game, so it makes sense that it uses this progression system, but to me, currently in 2021, this is so outdated. This is a very boring way of progressing through the game, being forced to do this. You add on to the fact that the combat system isn't really all that great in Fiesta. Again, a dated game, so it does show its age with regards to the gameplay. See, the game is tab target. I don't really know of any MMOs from like the mid to late 2000s that were not tab target. So this is a tab target game. You cycle through enemies either by clicking them or with the tab button. And admittedly, the enemies are very plain looking. They're not really much to look at. Your character itself looks okay. Your character doesn't look great, but the monsters are significantly less detailed than your character, and there are literally just hundreds of them plastered around the zone that you're in. And admittedly, the difficulty spike increases so drastically. Back when I was level 1 through 8, I could take on multiple monsters at a time. And then when I was about level 10 to 15, the monsters, if I took on more than 2 of them, would just absolutely destroy me. So that that level spike was very random and very out of nowhere. But the gameplay itself, the combat was very slow. It wasn't really very intuitive. You just cycle through your buttons, as the majority of tap target games do. So the unintuitive gameplay isn't really an issue, but the very bland special effects were. The fact that the combat itself was very slow. The character animations were very poor. Everything about the combat kind of left me almost falling asleep. Now, I don't want to say that the combat is bad, because I have played games that have much worse combat than this, like Rapples. So in the grand scheme of things, the combat itself isn't bad. It's just kind of okay. But one thing that really, really bugged me is an issue that has been prevalent and running rampant in this game for years that they have never fixed, and that is that the game drops FPS all the way to literally 0 for some computers, not for every computer, because Mrs. Sticks, as an example here, did not come across this FPS issue. But if you move your mouse anywhere on the screen, your FPS will literally drop to 0 whilst moving your mouse. Now, take this as an example here. I covered this on the stream. I'm holding my right click down. Notice how you can no longer see my mouse when I hold my right click down. Look at this. This is completely lagless, okay? No FPS drops whatsoever. This is almost 10 seconds straight of no FPS issues. Watch what happens when I let go of my right click and my mouse appears. Look at this. And then I'm gonna hold my mouse again. Look at this, smooth. No FPS issues. I'm gonna let go of my mouse again.
What the?
Look at this. I'm gonna hold it again. Now I'm gonna let go of it again. But also note, I'm not moving my mouse right now, okay? And there's no lag. But watch what happens when I move my mouse.
Oh,
Look at this.
I do see that.
I'm gonna stop moving it. Now I'm gonna start moving it.
Excuse me, Mr.
I'm gonna stop moving it. Now I'm gonna start moving it. Or at least I found out what causes the game to lag now. Holy crap, watch this, guys. See everything moving? Like, look at the guys over on the left of the screen over here. Watch, I'm gonna keep rotating my mouse in a circular motion. I want you to watch the monster's movements. Okay, look at my screen. It is completely frozen as long as I'm moving my mouse. Completely 100% frozen. Like, this has been going on for years now, for actual years, and they have not fixed this. They have not remedied it or found the cause of this. Like, how can you have players running into this issue and then quitting because the game is unplayable and not do anything about it? It's almost like you want your game to die. You are essentially digging the grave and throwing yourself into it. Like, why is that a thing? Like, why would you do that? Now, that bug aside, I didn't really run into any other issues that prevented me from playing the game. So, you know, that's a bonus. I did notice that there were not really many classes to play through. A game that has been online for over a decade now, being as limited in terms of freedom as this is, was a little bit disappointing. I know that Flife, as an example, had a very extensive class system. So playing something that was relevant and popular at the same time as Flife and seeing how restrictive this game was, or is even, was very disappointing. Also, seeing the limited character creator kind of left me a little disheartened. I love anime MMOs. I love having a lot of customization in my anime MMOs. I love PSO2 because it has such an extensive character creator tool. And if you think about it, PSO2 I think was released all the way back in like 2011, 2012. So that game itself is almost a decade old as well, and only released several years after Fiesta and Flife. And if you think about it, the creator tool is so much more detailed than almost any other anime MMO out there, or probably more than any anime MMO out there. But again, you know, this is a very traditional MMO. PSO2, as an example, is not a traditional MMO, that's a hub MMO, so you can't really make the difference. You can't really compare the two. Now, at the end of the day, Fiesta Online, I don't think, in my personal opinion, is worth playing in 2021. Not because this is a terrible game, but just because this is not a very good game. The gameplay is very slow, it is very clunky, the combat is very unintuitive, the character animations look kind of stiff, they don't look very fluid at all. The graphical style, while kind of cute, looks very dated. I've seen other games that were released roughly at the same time that look a lot better than Fiesta does. The fact that there isn't enough content to actually level up without the inclusion of grinding is a huge setback. Being forced to grind is never a good thing, unless of course it's Black Desert, in which case for some reason a lot of people enjoy the grinding in that, and that's probably partly or mostly due to its combat. And trust me, grinding in Fiesta with its combat system, not an enjoyable experience. Honestly, I wish the world were more filled with NPCs. I wish the world wasn't so cluttered with monsters. The world itself feels very dead. It feels void of life. It's just empty outside of each zone being just smothered with a bunch of different monsters. There really doesn't seem to be much to do in the game. Granted, I didn't really get to run the dungeons or the raids, but even if I wanted to, there wouldn't have been anyone to do it with anyway. We did play with some of you guys, so that was really fun. But for the most part, we're kind of all off doing our own thing at separate times anyway. So I think even playing with friends wouldn't necessarily be of benefit to me or to you guys. But overall, the game, it was okay. It wasn't very good. Again, I would not recommend this. There are just so many negatives to this game. I didn't really enjoy anything specifically about it. It was a nostalgia trip to be sure, but the FPS issue, the clunky gameplay, how dated this game felt, I don't know. To me, it just does not seem worth it to invest time into it. And add on to that this is published by Gamigo. Yeah, that is a big no for me. Anyway, guys, that is everything I wanted to talk about with regards to Fiesta Online today. What do you guys think? Have you played Fiesta? Do you ever foresee yourself going back to Fiesta to try it out again, to relive your experience, to see if it was just nostalgia, or is this game just too old? Is this game completely irrelevant? Let me know down in the comment section below and let's talk about it. Anyway, guys, that is it from me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make it.